And since issuing this number, hundreds of ladies are calling, a lot of women are calling and giving out information on how they met, particularly Bongani Mtimkulu and Pila Makanya on several occasions. And what they're relaying to us is that they are utilizing the same modus operandi. They meet them in malls, they propose to them, ask them out on dates, and when they agree, they rob them and so on.
It began with a scream no one heard, a message no one understood, a disappearance no one could explain, and a body that should never have been found where it was. The murder of Olerato Mongale, a young, vibrant woman whose life was just beginning, would become one of South Africa's most chilling and confusing cases, a story of manipulation, betrayal, and a killing wrapped in layers of staged chaos. On the surface, it looked like a tragedy, a woman missing, clues scattered, a search intensifying. But behind the scenes, behind the tears, behind the sudden public panic, something darker was taking shape. A plan crafted in secrecy, a performance played for sympathy, and a deception that would fool an entire country for weeks. Before her death, Olerato lived an ordinary life. She was smart, ambitious, and connected deeply with her family and friends. But something in her world changed months before the murder. A toxic relationship, a controlling presence, whispered arguments, and private messages that painted the picture of a woman desperate to escape. She didn't know that every attempt to pull away only tightened the grip around her. On the night everything changed, Olerato was last seen alive leaving her residence. She didn't appear scared. She didn't appear rushed. She looked like someone who expected to return. But she never did. Her family reported her missing. The community mobilized. Search groups formed. Posters circulated. Social media flooded with pleas, hashtags, and hope. And in the center of it all stood the man who claimed to love her most. The man who shed tears, organized search efforts, and begged for her safe return. A man who would later be revealed as the architect of her final nightmare. From the beginning, detectives felt something was off. His reactions were exaggerated. His statements were inconsistent. His timeline changed each time he repeated it. He appeared too involved, too fast, too dramatic. And when someone inserts themselves that deeply into an investigation, they are usually either desperate for answers or desperate to hide something. Days passed. The searches widened. But then, the world stopped. Olerato's body was found. Not randomly, not by accident, but in a location that wasn't consistent with the route she was known to take. A place that felt staged. A place meant to send a message. Her body showed signs of violence. Not the chaotic violence of a spontaneous attack, but the controlled violence of someone who knew her. Someone who overpowered her. Someone who wanted her silenced. Her clothes were disrupted. Her injuries told a story, one of struggle, betrayal, and emotional brutality. The discovery shattered her family. But for investigators, it triggered the beginning of a deeper hunt. The man who claimed to have loved her became the center of attention. His story no longer matched the physical evidence. His timeline didn't align with the phone records. His tears suddenly looked rehearsed. And as detectives dug through his digital footprints, they found the first undeniable crack. He had been tracking her online activity hours before her disappearance, following her movements, monitoring her social media, and reading her private messages. But the biggest breakthrough came when detectives accessed CCTV footage from surrounding areas. There, in the grainy early morning frames, they captured his car moving in a pattern that matched the time frame of her disappearance. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, circling, waiting, searching, and then leaving the area at a speed that indicated panic, not innocence. Still, the man insisted he knew nothing. He insisted he was devastated. He insisted he was helping. But then came the mistake that broke everything open. Investigators discovered that his phone had connected to a tower located near the exact place where Olerato's body was found, long before the search had begun. There was no reason for him to be there. There was no explanation. And once the police examined his call logs, they realized he had contacted several friends shortly after the time of the murder, asking them to cover for him. Some refused. Others stayed silent. But the attempt alone was enough to destroy his narrative. Then came the confession. Not from him, but from a friend who buckled under pressure. The friend admitted that the man had asked him to help dispose of something, to hide something, to drive somewhere late at night. And although he refused, he remembered the man looking terrified, sweaty, and frantic. Detectives now understood they were not dealing with a random killing. This was a deliberate act, planned, executed, and staged. They looked deeper into the relationship between Olerato and the man suspected of killing her. What they found was horrifying. Months of emotional abuse, threatening messages, attempts to isolate her from friends and family, jealousy that turned violent, arguments that escalated, a toxic cycle that she tried to escape multiple times, but each attempt was met with manipulation, apologies, and renewed threats. On the night of the murder, the man had confronted her over a message he found on her phone, a message she received from another man, a message she didn't even reply to. Witnesses later reported hearing shouting. Someone heard a door slam. Someone heard something fall. But no one imagined what came next. The man snapped. He grabbed her. A struggle followed. She tried to flee. He overpowered her. Whether he intended to kill her or not, what happened next ended her life. And instead of calling for help, instead of trying to save her, he panicked. He moved her body. He staged the scene. He cleaned himself up. And then he stepped into the role he would play for days. The grieving boyfriend begging for help to find the very woman he had already murdered. His performance fooled many. His tears convinced some. His posts on social media gained sympathy. But behind closed doors, he was unraveling. Detectives brought him in for questioning again. This time, he couldn't keep the story straight. The timelines fell apart. His alibis vanished. And when he was confronted with the cell phone evidence, his facade shattered. He broke down. He confessed. But even his confession was twisted, blaming her, blaming circumstances, blaming everything except the truth. He killed her because he refused to let her live without him. The courtroom was packed when he appeared. Families cried. The public watched closely. The prosecution described a calculating, possessive man, driven by control and jealousy. The defense argued heat of the moment. But the evidence told the real story, a pattern of abuse that escalated until it reached its inevitable endpoint. As the trial unfolded, more disturbing details emerged. The man had attempted to mislead investigators from the beginning. He fabricated messages, deleted data, tried to destroy evidence. He even returned to the crime scene days later, pretending to search, while secretly trying to ensure nothing was left behind. When the verdict was finally read, there was no celebration, only closure. Thin, fragile, painful closure. But the story didn't end in the courtroom. Olerato's murder sparked a conversation across South Africa about gender-based violence, toxic relationships, and the silent warnings many women face long before tragedy strikes. Her story became a symbol of how emotional abuse escalates into physical violence, how manipulation becomes control, and how control becomes fatal. Her life was stolen by someone she trusted, her future erased by someone who claimed to love her, her voice silenced by someone who feared losing power over her. But in death, she became the voice of thousands of women living in similar shadows, trapped in cycles of fear and silence. The man responsible sits behind bars, but even that feels incomplete, because Olerato cannot return. Her dreams cannot return. The life she should have lived cannot be restored. Her family will never be the same. Her smile, her energy, her future, all gone. Still, her story carries weight. Each detail, each discovery, each moment of truth became part of a larger fight, a fight for justice, protection, and awareness. Her name became a call to action, a reminder that behind every case number is a human being who deserved better. This documentary is not just about how she died. It is about how she lived, hopeful, loving, and deserving of far more than the darkness that found her. And as her memory continues to push conversations forward, her story refuses to fade. Because every uncovered truth is a warning, every admission is a lesson, and every painful ending becomes a demand. This cannot happen again. Olerato Mongale's death was not an accident, not a mystery, not a random crime. It was the final act of a toxic, deadly relationship, and a chilling reminder of the monsters that hide behind smiles. May her story echo, may her truth stand, and may her name never be forgotten.